U.S. intelligence that is indicating Russian President Vladimir Putin could try to test NATO's unity with a limited attack on a NATO allied country. The assessments warn that Russia could conduct a small-scale incursion or a cyber attack designed to test NATO's commitment to Article 5. Article 5 states that an attack on one member is an attack on all. Joining me now is
So that's big news, guys. We've talked on this channel so much about what happens when the United States looks weak, the world looks weak, and the enemies of the free world take advantage of it. And that's what we're seeing right now. This is actual intelligence that's been intercepted by the United States saying that Russia is planning some sort of an invasion, whether that be a ground invasion, an air invasion with drones, or a cyber invasion, or a mixture of all three into a NATO country. That's really big news, man. So I wanted to pull that up first because of how much we talk about that on this channel, but also I wanted to talk a little bit about why. Why do we think he would do something like this? And we're going to watch a little bit more of this, and then I'll pause it, and then I'll share kind of my opinion.
Zach Cohen. Zach, what does this assessment tell us specifically about what Putin might be planning?
Yeah, Jake, it effectively lays out that there's a window of time where Vladimir Putin believes he could test and see how much he can get away with effectively as far as encroaching on NATO territory, challenging the member states to their commitment to Article 5 to defend an attack against one is an attack against all. And that is really predicated on this idea that U.S. officials and NATO officials believe that Putin is growing frustrated by taking serious losses in the war with Ukraine and could move to shift his tactic by focusing on NATO in particular. He does see potentially an opportunity here to expose some fractures within the alliance and could particularly target some of the smaller, less strong member states in an effort to see how much action he can get away with before crossing that Article 5 threshold. And I'm told that this intelligence does suggest that most likely targets would be places like the Baltics or Poland, places where we've actually seen some recent Russian activity.
Yeah, drones and cyber attacks.
Exactly.
Right?
And over the last several years, we've seen a pretty...
Something else that just happened, guys, that isn't circulating mainstream media as much as I would have expected to, is the fact that there's been a Russian drone found at a German airport that was supposedly being ran by a Russian intelligence unit, and it was by a Ukrainian cargo ship. It was near a Ukrainian cargo plane that was supposed to be bringing supplies from Germany to Ukraine. And there was a Russian FPV drone there trying to take it out, but it actually hit the target. The FPV hit the target, but the explosive didn't go off. That is an attack. That should invoke Article 5 right there. That is an attack in a deliberate attack in a NATO member state, country. Let's keep watching.
Steady pace of that kind of activity, but this intelligence lays out various scenarios in various ways Putin might want to test the alliance's strength. Now, the one sort of other alternative here is that if Putin is able to secure some sort of a face-saving agreement of some kind to end the war in Ukraine, there is potential there for him not to have motive for shifting his attention elsewhere. But again, the talks, the dialogue between Russia and Ukraine, intermediated by the United States, has stalled, we're told. So it's really up in the air here. And
you think?
We are told senior officials are very concerned about this very real threat.
What's your reaction to this report?
So I'm going to talk about this a bit, and then we'll wrap it up. We'll just make this a really short video. But why? Why do we think Russia would do this when they are at their basically they're burning at both ends of the candle, right? They are running out of supplies. They are running out of air defense. Why would they try to open up a whole new conflict with an even stronger, arguably, an even stronger enemy, NATO? And I hear people who are kind of trying to play this off as not a big deal. They're saying that this is their argument, that Russia's on the back foot in Ukraine, and they don't have it. They don't have the resources to open up another war front, basically. And here would be my argument against that. Russia is on the back foot in Ukraine primarily because of the drones, because of the drone warfare. I believe, and we can look this up. We can check statistics and stuff and see what's actually publicly available. But I believe Russia actually still has a large conventional military. They still have tanks, not as much as they did, obviously. They still have different armored vehicles. They still have infantry units. They still have a conventional military that could work in invading a nation that has no drone infrastructure set up yet. So let's use, I don't know, we'll use any, think of any smaller NATO country, right? That just hasn't had the last 5 years to develop an extremely efficient drone infrastructure and war machine. If Russia invades with conventional military, tanks straight in, infantry pushes, assaults, stuff like that, they would still make ground. And I think Russia still has the assets for that stuff. What Russia doesn't have is the ability to stop the drones, right? But if this NATO country doesn't have that drone capability, Russia could still very well invade and potentially take a large portion, if not all, of whatever that country is, depending on the country, of course. So and now why? Why would he do that? I think basically he knows it's a losing it's a lost cause in Ukraine. He cannot do conventional warfare. He cannot continue committing the same amount of resources because he's at a net loss now. He's losing more troops every single month than they are recruiting, for example. So he's opening up other avenues. And if he can, for example, make the conflict more dynamic and widen it and start to widen his influence. For example, if he were to take a large portion of Poland, for example, just an example, okay? If he were to take a large portion of Poland somehow, then he could try to use that as some kind of a negotiation tool to getting Donbass or getting parts of Ukraine or backing NATO up or, a number of things, but he would have more room to negotiate because he would have more assets in his control now. Poland's probably a bad example, but you get my point. If he is able to gain any territory in any NATO country, he'd be able to have more negotiating power. And they believe that they're already fighting NATO. They believe they're already at full scale war with NATO. So I don't know if that would really deter them, as I used to think that it would. But it would be all about the response. It would be all about NATO's response. Would NATO do what they are made to do and annihilate the enemy? Or would they do what we have seen the last 4 years every time there is a violation of the NATO treaty from Russia, whether it be drones in NATO airspace or NATO land, whether it be other missiles, stuff like that? NATO plays it off as not a big deal, or it was a mistake, it was just an accident. They just play it off, right? So they don't have to rustle any feathers and invoke Article 5. So I'm curious, man, but this is huge news. This in conjunction with the drone that was found at the German airport. Huge news, guys. I made a video a couple weeks ago about World War III, and it may have looked clickbaity, but I was very serious about that video, and just plays more into my theory that we're living it right now. This is World War III. When the kids are learning about World War III in the history books 50 years from now, these are going to be the parts that were in the first year of World War III. They're going to read about what's happening right now as history, and everybody will be like, wow, yeah, I mean, there were some clear signs leading up to this. There was a lot of clear signs, right? I can't believe they didn't see it coming. Anyways, I'm curious what you guys think, man. Major development. I want to get this out as soon as possible. Let me know what you think. I said that like 11 times. Sorry. Please like, share, subscribe. Let's get this channel continue to grow, or let's continue growing this channel. A lot of love and support from you guys. So I can't thank you enough. I love this community so much, man. It's absolutely my life. So I love you guys. I'll see you in the next video.